y'all. Karen and
Pluto!
Here for Karen and Bluto's Not Another Review channel. Another movie review. So this one we watched is Terminator Dark Fate. Rated R. 2019. It was 2 hours and 8 minutes.
That was 2 hours and 8 minutes too long.
Yeah, it kept me in though because I was trying to figure out some things with it.
I didn't like it.
So, but we said it was better than Genesis.
Well, that's just like saying that the crap I took yesterday is better than one today.
Well, maybe it didn't hurt as bad.
Or it stunk less.
So anyways, the movie starts out with the video from T2 with Sarah Connor from the mental hospital she was in. And then eventually it cuts away to water.
And it makes you wish you were watching too.
Yeah. And then it changes to water, brushing ashore and sand, and there's skeletons everywhere. And Sarah's talking about there being a time when the machines hunted humans. But then we go basically to 1998. And that never happened because she was able to stop what was to happen and save her son. And they went into hiding. So they were down in Mexico or Central America somewhere or something. And all of a sudden, this Terminator shows up. We get digitalized Eddie Furlong and digitalized young Arnold.
Yeah.
And the Terminator ends up taking out John.
Which made part 2 absolutely worthless.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's part of what it was. Is like I was trying to figure out where this kind of fell on the timeline continuum. But anyways, we go from 1998 to 22 years later. So it would be 2020, even though this came out in 2019. But it literally said 22 years later in Mexico City. Basically, this female shows up from the future. There's this young couple. A few things happen. She eventually takes the dude's clothes in their car and leaves. But I did like the one comment the one police said about it be raining white girls or something like that. Because it was kind of like this whole scene was in Spanish, so you had to read the subtitles.
I hated that.
Even though I could follow a little bit of it from my 5 years of Spanish that I don't remember a lot of. But anyways.
On that.
So
I like reading movies.
We cut away to this other female character, Hispanic female character that's kind of like taking care of her family, getting everybody ready. Her and her brother head off to work, and then a male Terminator shows up in the middle of like the courtyard or wherever the apartment building she lives in. Danielle is the main character's name. She goes by Danny. So the Terminator goes to Danny's house and is kind of talking to her father and like, oh, where's she at? I'm a friend and so on. And the dog is barking at him the whole time. And her dad's like, just shut up. What is your problem? So if you remember from previous movies, the dogs know when the Terminators are there.
Like in the first one.
So it shows, next step is showing Danny and her brother at work. They're talking about robots replacing their positions on the assembly. Like they're like working in a car factory or something.
Like now.
So Danny tries to go talk to her boss because I guess they're talking about eliminating her brother's position and she's some other things. So she basically goes to try to fix everything and defend him. Well, then both this female from the future, which I said was a Terminator, but it turns out she's not a Terminator, and the actual Terminator show up at the factory, so she's trying to protect Danny. The male Terminator is trying to kill her. They eventually, the male Terminator shows up disguised as her dad, so she's kind of like, oh my god, you're attacking my dad, what are you doing? Stop it. And they eventually get out, or able to escape. They steal a truck to escape, and this female Terminator is like, it's not your father. She's trying to explain everything. And she's like, basically, your father's dead because he took his. So it's kind of like in T2 with the Terminator, again, he would.
A better movie.
Maybe that's what they were trying to do, remake Terminator 2. So anyways, it comes out, this female is actually human, but she's been augmented in some way.
Augmented.
Yeah, that's what they said, augmented.
That's a big word like you use.
And basically, like, she has, like, a higher metabolism. I can't remember everything she says, but there's a chase scene. They're trying to escape. The other Terminator's chasing him, and apparently he can break himself in two, so to speak, where he can have, like, his machine part doing something and then, like, the human part doing other things. I mean, it's...
Well, that could be two people going after
really,
one.
Yeah, really bizarre. But anyways, it gets to this point where the truck ends up getting wrecked. Diego's, her brother's severely hurt. I have the female Terminator's name written down somewhere. Chris.
I was going to say Jill.
Takes Danny. Diego's like, go, go, go. And the truck ends up exploding and he dies. And Danny's like freaking out, like, oh my God, you're killing, whatever. Well, then in the middle of all this, Sarah Connor shows up and tries to take out the Terminator. And of course, she throws a bomb over the bridge and she looks at him and she's like, I'll be back. And she was like, which you probably saw in the trailers because I think they showed that part. So, eventually Danny and Chris take off in Sarah's vehicle.
Sarah's
vehicle, and leave her behind. And she's like, son of a bitch, what the hell, So they basically, they go to leave, and I have something about here. Terminator needs physical contact, does not survive. I don't know. Anyways, Chris is going on about how her metabolism is different. So her and Danny go and rob a drugstore because she needs this, like, drug concoction to kind of function. So, Chris is kind of like slipping away and Danny picks up the gun and it's like, I need all this. And she's trying to pull Chris out of the store. And this one guy that works there is like, I'm going to help you. So they get outside while Sarah shows up in another vehicle. I don't know.
Why does he help her?
I don't know if he just figures, oh, she's trying to help a friend or whatever. But when they get outside, Sarah's out there and going on and on about stuff. And it's like, get in, I'm going to save you and everything. So they drive. They drive to a dirty hotel, which we were joking because somebody we watch on YouTube.
Don't mention anything.
It was kind of funny. I was like, oh. So they're trying
to plug your channel. Give us money.
Yeah. So they're trying to treat Chris with everything. Chris is having a dream flashback of her volunteering and then becoming augmented during this war in the future.
Oh, this is boring.
So Chris eventually says she's from 2042. I have something on the page.
Sure.
Sarah's kind of going on to apparently whenever Sarah stopped everything in the past, she stopped Skynet from ever existing because she ended up changing history.
Yeah, there's always something new.
But then Chris is like, no, there was this. So, and Sarah's going on like they never learn and everything. So
there'll be something new after this.
They were saying something about, well, Sarah's like, I need to know about this Terminator. What is it? I need to know how to fight it. And Chris goes, it's a Rev 9 model. You don't fight it, you run from it, is what she says. And basically, the new Skynet in the future is called Legion.
Of course.
So, Sarah and them, they don't stay at the hotel wrong. They leave again. And Chris is like, well, how did you know we were going to be there? How do you know all this? And she's explained, like, she kind of goes into the history, like, well, since my son was killed, I've been getting these text messages with these coordinates over the years, and it ends with for John. So I got this message that you guys were showing up, and there I was. And here, whenever Chris takes her phone, she's like, you don't know where these are coming from. And Sarah's like, no. So Chris takes her phone and starts going through. And she's like, she figures out, she goes, here's the coordinates. And she's looking, she goes, wait, here, Chris had these coordinates tattooed on herself. And it's somewhere in Texas, right across the border. And they're like, okay, we're going. We need to find out who this is, what's going on.
Another 15 minutes of boring stuff.
Yeah. So they're trying to figure out how to cross the border. Danny says she has an uncle that can help her. The Rev 9 is doing tracking data to track them down and everything. Chris explains the future to Danny that like everything happened without warning. And Sarah's like, oh, so basically Danny's the new me. She's going to give birth to the new John, basically the new savior, so to speak, of the human race.
Not really.
And Chris is like, no, yeah, whatever. And Danny's like, kind of like the way Sarah was in the first movie, like, I can't do this. I don't do that, very opposite. She's like, I can't do all this and everything.
Nope.
So anyways, they're trying to cross the border. The Rev 9 calls out and says, hey, be on the lookout for these ones. They're wanted criminals. They're armed and dangerous. They're trying to get across. And across the border.
Oh, I thought I meant across, like on Indiana Jones.
No. And then in the middle of all this, too, Rev 9 takes control of this plane. And once the Border Patrol captures them, he tries to crashed the plane into where Danny's at, and they end up saving him and everything. So they end up getting tossed into like this jail system that's down there for people that are trying to escape across the border. Chris tells Sarah to please protect Danny if something happens to her. So Sarah's trying to say, that's my granddaughter. I need to stay with her. And they end up separating everybody because I think Chris passes out in the middle of all this. So they have her like in the medical wing. Danny's in one holding area. Here they find out Sarah, I guess, has all these warrants out for her arrest in the United States. That's why she had been in Mexico. And so they're like trying to arrest her. Well, then the Rev 9 comes to try to pick Danny up, and
blah, blah,
Chris comes back around. Sarah escapes. They all basically escape at this point.
Too much talking, not enough action.
So, I just kind of escaping all. Okay, so eventually they get to the location of the coordinates that Chris has tattooed on her and that Sarah's been getting the messages from. It's in Laredo, Texas. Here it's Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, we get to Arnold an hour in.
Yeah. Here, basically, it is the Terminator that killed John earlier in the movie. And basically what happens is, Sarah freaks out, obviously. And it's like, you killed my son. I can't trust you. Why, and basically it comes out, they all start talking that basically after his mission was completed, he had nothing to do because the mission was done. He had no other orders.
But I always wondered that. What happens if a Terminator succeeds? What do they do? Just hang out?
That's basically what he did the past 22 years. He said basically at this point he learned to be human and he kind of learned to understand human feelings. And
well, they say that in the second one, right?
I think a little. Yeah, well, he kind of says that in the second one, like, and now I understand why you cry at the end.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
so they can't learn.
So, like, he basically understands and kind of, I want to say almost develops like a conscience, so to speak.
Sure.
So basically, he was trying to help Sarah stop all the other Terminators that were coming through because then he kind of actually started feeling guilty about killing John. So he basically started sending Sarah all these text messages to give her purpose. And he basically said to her, destroying Skynet set him free. Which technically, if Skynet was destroyed before then,
well, that's Sarah Connor supposed to be dead. So
well, basically, the third one never happened according to this.
That's why it's stupid.
And it's kind of like if you think about with Genesis, like
if everybody dies, they can still come back.
Yeah, I mean, even if you think about Genesis, the first one never happened.
So John Connor can still come back.
Yeah.
Just go back in time.
Whatever.
Exactly.
So basically,
it's stupid.
The Terminator. I can't remember. I wrote his name down, but it's so funny. He's like
Chad.
He's like an interior designer and does all this stuff. He has a family, so to speak, but his wife and his son don't know what he is. And what it is his wife, she was in a domestic violence situation. She already had the son, and they kind of came to her and, they got married because he refers to her as his wife and everything.
What if he knows how to perform?
So,
you think?
I don't know. So basically at this point, they were like, you know what? We got to try to figure out how to destroy this Rev 9. And they also and Danny keeps saying she wants to stay and fight. She's tired of running and everything. She wants to.
She doesn't seem like a fighter.
No, not at this point. But,
she's not tough like
so they kind of start training her how to shoot and everything. And it's so funny. Have her doing this one little gun and she's not doing anything. They give her this big gun and she starts blowing watermelons apart.
Like that's what you would do.
So basically what it comes down to is I can't remember if it's Arnold figures out, but somebody's like, there's a specific weapon we need, and Arnold knows how to get it.
Of course.
So basically, Carl, that's his name.
Oh, I said Chad.
Chad, close enough. Because you said that. I'm like, wait, no. And then I knew, I was like, it began with a C. So basically, his family comes home. He basically, I guess he had always told them there was going to be a time that he was going to have to send them away and he wouldn't be back. And he basically told them that this is that time they needed to go.
I won't be back.
Yeah. So, and he basically tells them it's no longer safe there. So everyone else leaves. The Rev 9 shows up at the house. He does some snooping, and here there's a picture on the fridge of Carl's van. So he's kind of figuring, oh, they might be in that. So they end up meeting with this, or no, Sarah has a contact. It wasn't Arnold. It was Sarah had the contact. With somebody from the military, like, and he's like, Sarah, you know, I can't be doing this. This is against me being a patriot and everything. And she's trying to explain what's going on. He believes her with everything. So he brings the, I don't remember what it was they needed. It was some high tech weapon thing that was supposed to disperse him somehow. But anyways,
whatever.
The Rev 9 shows up in a helicopter and starts attacking him. And the guy, the guy from the military gets shot. Not killed yet, but shot. And there goes my leg.
Just watch 1 and 2.
So they escape. They get to the military base, and he's ordering everyone, you know, don't let him get through. They eventually get on this plane that's being loaded, and they start to escape.
I don't like the effects in this.
And everything, but while they're on the plane... Chris tells Danny the whole story of what happens in the future. Basically, Chris, like, her parents died. I think she had a sibling that was gone, and she was basically on her own. And I guess Danny saved her after Judgment Day happened, and in this timeline.
So who is it that he's supposed to be?
Well, basically, it comes out Danny doesn't give birth to the new person that's supposed to lead the rebellion. Danny is the leader of the new rebellion.
Well, couldn't anybody lead it? Why is that?
Basically, but I guess it was kind of at that point, like, she brought people together. Like, people were attacking each other just to do survival.
Again, anybody could do that. I mean, I guess only a certain person could give birth to a certain person, but anybody can lead, right?
Well, apparently she was the only one then that stepped up to lead. Kind of like John Connor's role would have been originally.
Yeah, but Sarah was important because nobody else would give birth to John Connor.
So basically, it comes out as Chris is talking. Sarah goes, "She's not giving birth to the person; she is the person." And Sarah realizes, "Okay,
you are the person."
Danny needs to be protected. So it turns out, like, the Rev 9's attacking, scratching my leg.
Oh.
Rev 9 starts attacking the plane or something. Arnold's trying to fight him. There's this Hummer on there. Chris throws Danny and gets Sarah in the Hummer. Chris is on it, and the Hummer goes out that's supposed to protect them, and they fall in by a dam somewhere.
No, see, that sounds like it'll be awesome, but it isn't.
Basically, then they're going on, because then Sarah and Danny are trying to escape and everything. I can't remember if the Rev 9's down there at that point or not.
Who cares?
Well, then they eventually find Chris, and Chris is going on about using her power and sacrificing herself in order to get rid of the Terminator, because the thing they got from the military was destroyed. So eventually it ends up they are inside this power plant at this dam thing. Not a damn thing, a dam, like a water dam.
This movie is one damn thing.
I'm like, as I'm saying, I'm like, sounds like I'm swearing, but I mean a dam, D-A-M.
Yep.
Carl, they're trying to get inside. Well, Carl eventually shows up, and he's pretty messed up at this point too. Gets him inside. Danny basically says this is where they're making their stand, and she's going to use herself as bait to lure the Rev 9 there. I have the climactic fight scene, so everything's kind of going on. Eventually, Chris uses her power and sacrifices herself. Carl takes the Rev 9, falls down in this hole, and kind of electrocutes them both and destroys them both. And Sarah's looking down, and he kind of gives her like a thumbs up, like, we did it. And he also says, for John, as he's dying. So then it goes, I had Grace. I don't know why I put Chris. Grace was the female character's name. I had Chris for some reason. I think I messed up. I thought it was Chris and it was Grace. But anyways, at the end of the movie shows Danny watching kids at this playground, and there's Grace / Chris that I've been calling the whole movie.
So sad.
As a child, and Danny and Sarah meet up, and this is prior to Judgment Day. And Danny looks at Sarah and says, I'm not going to let her sacrifice herself again for me. And Sarah goes, well, then we need to be ready. And they kind of just drive off.
Bleh. So I'll be sad when she dies, because you're going to see her again. You can say,
well, it's kind of the whole thing with...
I'll see you when you're younger in a couple of years.
Well, isn't it kind of the whole thing with Cal Reese?
Yeah. So if he hadn't died in Terminator, Cal Reese, would he have, like, met himself in the future?
Who knows? I mean, he kind of does in Genesis.
That's why that's stupid. Watch 1 and 2.
Yeah, that's why I jokingly said, I'm like, well, this was definitely no Terminator 2. And Terminator 2...
It looks like one of your video games.
Yeah,
the effects are horrible.
So, I don't know. Watch it for shits and giggles, if anything.
I don't like it. Boo.
I mean, like I said, for me, I was trying to figure out more of the timeline and which
if you start figuring
movies it was trying to kind of eliminating out. And I'm like, okay, so is this actually after the first one? Is this actually after the second one? We know that apparently the third one...
So how did Sarah Connor come back to life?
Well, she died somehow during the third one, yes. So apparently that didn't happen. Because
it did happen.
In the second one, she's still alive.
You can watch it. It happened. It's stupid.
Anyways, we can sit here and debate this back and forth forever. So that is it. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell icon so I know when when I post new content. I don't know why I'm adamant that I need to know.
Maybe you're talking about me, so I know.
Who knows? Subscribers, thank you. You guys are awesome. Keep coming back. Wish list posted if you want to help us out. If there's something you want us to review, let me know. If we don't have it, if you can get it, it would be awesome. Check out K-Doll Games, Toys, and More. This guy shows up on occasion.
Nope.
Toy and game reviews over there. I think that's it. We'll see you next one. Bye.
Bye.